Hey everyone, how's it going? Obviously, we're here for a Padres Dodgers recap, but the game is not over. The game is still going to the bottom of the ninth, but the Padres haven't exactly been playing some very inspiring baseball. Granted, it was against the Dodgers. I think the main goal going into the last 9 games of this whole Dodgers, the 19 games against the Dodgers was you want to take at least 3 of these last 9 from them because realistically, everyone hates losing to the Dodgers. I really hate losing to the Dodgers, but you got to take something into account that they're quite possibly one of the best teams in MLB history. They remind me a lot of the 1998 Yankees. I didn't get to watch them, but when you just look at the record, look at the roster, I mean, it's just stacked from top to bottom. So we knew how difficult of a challenge it would be for the Padres to be able to go take even one series from the Dodgers in September. We're lucky enough they were able to take a game each and be able to take advantage of the rest of the competition that was put in front of them. Now, 90 wins guarantees you the 5th spot. I think. Do you want that 5th spot, knowing that you have to play the Mets or the Braves? I don't know. You guys let me know, but ideally, 90 wins gets you there, which means you have to win both of these next series against the White Sox and the Giants. White Sox have just been eliminated from postseason contention, and the Giants have just been eliminated not that long ago also. So 2 teams right there that are out of the postseason, not going to be playing inspiring baseball, where the Padres are fighting for their playoff life, essentially. And, maybe the Padres are going to take the foot off the gas, knowing the other 2 teams are not doing very well. The game is not over. I actually am going to have at least the scorecard up right here. But I just wanted to go live because, it is getting late. And I want to go to bed soon, and I want to go watch some TV or something. But I just want to go live right now, maybe walk it off or something. But, let's see what the Bats do right now. I think it was kind of weird today knowing that the Padres put in, what's his name, Brandon Dixon, something like that. Alvin Kamara highlights. Dude, I have Alvin Kamara on my fantasy team. I kind of think he's going to ball out this weekend. So, but I don't know if I'm going to be up at 6:30 to watch him do it. I might. But, going back to the Padres, Sean and I went out there and actually had himself a pretty solid, not start, but pretty solid stint out of the, I guess you can say, out of the bullpen. Went out there through 4 innings, allowed like 1 run, and that's really good considering what Sean and I has done against the Dodgers up to this point. So it was exciting to see him be able to do that. Other than that, I don't really know what else to say about the series. You went into that first game and you won in extra innings. You were able to go into extra innings with them yesterday. And I think that's kind of one of the more exciting things about this series was that you went into extra innings both times in the first 2 games. And it really took you a bullpen game to be able to, finally, for the Dodgers to kind of put the nail in the coffin in a game. The other 2 games where you had, I'm trying to remember, Blake Snell and Joe Musgrove, both of them looked solid, even though it took them 5 innings to throw, whatever it was, 100 pitches. Both of them looked solid. Both of them did their job. Bullpen did their job, and we were able to hang in there with the Dodgers. So I think that was very inspiring. That's a team that's not going to let the foot off the gas. You really got to play perfect baseball to be able to beat them. So the Padres essentially almost did that for 2 games. And in reality, in a 5-game series, you only need 2 or 3 to be able to do that. So that's an inspiring thing. I think the magic number right now is 3, and I believe getting to the magic number, whether it be against the Phillies or the Braves, I think over the Phillies, the magic number is 4, and the magic number for the Brewers against the Brewers is 3. I believe either of them get you the 5th seed. But the whole thing right now, we want to start Darvish tomorrow. That's the plan right now. And by the time his next start comes around, we should have already clinched. That's going to be the hope, because you don't want him pitching game 162. If he pitches with game 162, you might not have him for the whole wild card series, at least not on regular rest. And Darvish on short rest is not something that I think we really want to see, considering his age. And he's so far this season I'm sorry, I'm looking at my phone trying to keep up with the game. So far this season, he's kind of needed his regular rest or even an extra day to be able to perform to to the extent that he has right now. But looking at the scorecard, I mean, the Padres have 10 hits today. The Dodgers have 7. Nonetheless, Dodgers got 5 runs. Padres have 2. Now, that's going to be a huge problem for the Padres come playoff time, is the lack of slug. The lack of slug is what's killing the Padres. And this is what's kind of telling me, do the Mets have Jacob deGrom? Yes. Do they have Max Scherzer? Yes. But I don't know. Something's telling me I'd rather play the Mets than the Braves. You look at Jacob deGrom. He hasn't pitched to the – maybe he has pitched to the 7th inning up to this point, but he has not pitched past the 7th inning up to this point. He has not pitched past 101 pitches. And in the 6th inning, he has a really, really bad ERA. He's one of the worst 6th inning pitchers in all of baseball. Even the 1st inning is not that good. Lately, he's got like a 3, and granted, you know, a 3.4 ERA for anyone else is really good. But against Jacob deGrom, a 3.4 ERA, you're starting to see some signs of vulnerability lately. So, yes, he's really good, but you want to face the team that's going in the coldest. And if that's the Mets, then that's the team I want to face. Because you look at it, the Braves, 2nd in batting average, 2nd in slugging, 2nd in home runs. And truthfully, I think that's going to be the team to give us bigger fits. Because we're not the type of team to be able to put a game away with just home runs. They will put us away with 2 or 3 home runs. We don't have the ability to do that. Meanwhile, you look at the Mets, they're not very close in terms of power or slugging against the Braves. The Braves have definitely outslugged them. And even, I don't know, I can't remember if they got on base at a higher clip, but in terms of average and slugging and OPS, the Braves are higher than the Mets. So, yes, you can look at the pitching matchups and say, I don't want to face deGrom and Scherzer, but there's also the thing where you don't want to face that Braves lineup. There are 2 sides to the story, and I quite frankly don't think either of them are wrong. You know, I'm talking like we already clinched the 5th spot, but ideally, you know, this is the situation that the Padres are in right now. This is a situation that we need to discuss. But, you know, let me know any questions or anything you guys want to talk about in the chat. We do well against Scherzer. I completely agree, Alf. We do well against Scherzer. Yeah, I do think we can take a series from the Mets, man, especially with the way you, Darvish, and Blake Snell have been pitching lately. I have full confidence in them to be able to go out there and put up a solid start, keep us in the game against both of those pitchers. But, you know, that would be a very exciting series for sure. Is facing Max Fried any better than, or is facing Max Fried any better than facing Jacob deGrom? I don't think so. I mean, maybe a little, but by how much? And then you have to face Kyle Wright, who's got what, like 20 plus wins. He's been pitching very well in his own right. So no matter what, you got to face tough pitching. Now you got to look at the lineup and say, Starling Marte can't even grip a bat yet. Starling Marte is out right now. That's one of their, even though he only has like 16 home runs, whatever it is, he steals bases and he had over an 800 OPS. So like I said, I don't think there's a right or a wrong in terms of who you want to face. I just think that the clear-cut answer is not, I don't want to face the Mets. That is not the clear-cut answer. That is not the clear-cut answer. Facing the Braves is not the clear answer. There's definitely a lot more to the story than just the pitching, because you look at your pitchers and you think, I got a lot of confidence in them to be able to compete against both of those guys. Now you look at the lineups and you might tell yourself, you might actually say, I don't want to face that Braves lineup. And you look at it lately, the Braves have been almost or just as good as the Dodgers. And the Dodgers have been giving us fits a ton lately. So, I mean, personally, I'd rather face the Mets, but I mean, you know, it's all a matter of preference for sure. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I'm just waiting for questions or something, because I mean, there's not, honestly, Matt and I were talking about this yesterday. It gets really hard at the end of the season to try and figure out what to talk about. Like we try and make these videos and stuff and we're like, damn, what the hell are we going to talk about today? It gets really tough. Today I was kind of bouncing back and forth, or not really even bouncing back and forth. I couldn't really watch too much of the game, so I had to listen to it on 97.3. I was trying to do that and watch football at the same time. But with that, the Padres lose 5-2 to the Dodgers and have dropped the series. Obviously very unfortunate, but nonetheless, magic number is down to 3, and we can clinch by the end of the weekend. By the end of the weekend, you might see that the Padres have clinched a playoff spot. So if there's a takeaway, it's that the Padres are getting closer and closer and closer to their first full season playoff spot since I was 6 years old. So, that's going to be one of the more exciting moments of in my life, at least as a Padre fan. Hopefully, they're able to do it by. I mean, shoot, they could do it by Saturday, I think. So, we'll just have to wait and see. What team you putting out on the field for first postseason game? It's very tough because you got a lot of people are saying Trent Grisham sucks. Trent Grisham that dude is trash. Don't get me wrong, that dude is trash. Jose Alzocar has kind of gotten cold lately too. And Jose Alzocar isn't really a player that you got to really be set in stone and having out on the field. He's not an everyday player. I think we all know, or at least we will all find out, he's not an everyday player. I think for now, you got a platoon. As soon as we clinch that playoff spot, Trent Grisham has to play the rest of the games because you need to hope that he finds his groove coming into those postseason games. Because if not, you're going to have a real big dilemma out in center field. You can throw Will out there, who's had a really good at bats lately, but his defense is very lackluster. You need Trent Grisham to get hot for at least 2 weeks, because if not, you're going to be having yourself a really big problem out in center field because Jose Alzocar, he already doesn't hit for power, but he's starting to get a little cold. Even Tony and trying to remember the other name. We'll just go with the other name for now. They were talking about it today, how, you're going to have a little bit of a problem out in center field if someone doesn't figure it out. But ideally, you kind of want to throw the same lineup that was out there in a similar fashion today. I'd rather have Josh Bell at DH, Brandon Drury at first, Ha-Seong Kim, Jake Cronenworth, Manny Machado all in their regular spots. Juan Soto and Ryan Jerks and Profar on left. It depends on who. I think if Yu Darvish doesn't have to throw game 162 or game 161, whatever it is, I'll have Yu Darvish out there in game 1 with Austin Nola behind the plate, because obviously we all know that's kind of Yu Darvish's new personal catcher in the same vein that Victor Caratini was. So that would be my first postseason game lineup. Can anyone explain how the Padres lost to the Dodgers? The Dodgers played better baseball than the Padres, I guess. I really didn't even think it was that yesterday. I don't really think the Padres played worse baseball than the Dodgers yesterday. It was just the little blooper that kind of killed us. I do think the Padres played some really solid baseball, but overall, Dodgers are a better team right now. The Dodgers are one of the best teams at least this season, one of the best teams in MLB history. So, that's kind of a team that I hope we take one from and would be super happy to take 2 from. Nonetheless, we took 1 and matching numbers down to 3. Nah, bro, you're right. You don't want to face my Braves. We have the same level of production, 1 through 9 and 3 aces. That's what I'm saying. It's like a lot of people are automatically assuming, no, I don't want to face Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer. You got to look at it a little deeper. Jacob deGrom is not the Jacob deGrom that we know as of late. Can he turn it on at any split second? Yes. Does he strike out a lot of people? Yes, absolutely. Another thing that you kind of want to factor in that goes against the Padres if they were to play Jacob deGrom is that the Padres are the worst team in baseball when it comes to facing guys that throw 96 plus. The worst. So, you don't really get any benefits no matter who you face. But that is sort of a disadvantage for the Padres. But you got to look at it in 2 different senses, man. That lineup for the Braves, they'll put you away in 1 inning. They have the ability to do that, whereas I feel like the Mets do not have the ability to do that. Are we saving Darvish for the postseason, or will he pitch tomorrow? He will pitch tomorrow. He's projected to pitch tomorrow against the White Sox. Ideally, that will be his last start of the regular season. That hopefully is going to be his last start of the regular season. You don't want him pitching game 162 or whatever it is, because you might not have him for the postseason if he does that. Soto and Machado left more traffic than the 5. They did. Yeah, they did. Especially that bases loaded inning. Those are the type of innings that kill you, and those are the type of innings that you need to take advantage of against the Dodgers. Nonetheless, Soto and Machado have been essentially the anchors of these last 5 or like 7 to 10 games, something like that. They've been 2 of our anchors. So, I'm still very happy with their production, but in the playoffs, they're going to have to cash in for sure. Why not let Wilson stay in another inning or two? Wilson's not exactly the type of guy that you really want to have out there for more than one inning. You look at the numbers and you're not really too inspired, but you're happy to get him out of there with one inning and no runs. Why didn't Darvish start today then? Because I think a lot of people kind of think you want to have Yu Darvish pitching against the best team, but who does he have? Who does Yu Darvish have a better chance of beating? Because at this point, you're not going for the division. It doesn't matter if you lose to the Dodgers anymore. Now you just got to win games. Who does Yu Darvish have a better shot of beating? The Dodgers or the White Sox? That's an easy answer. So ideally, you want Darvish pitching against a team that he has a higher possibility, a higher chance of winning against, right? I mean, let me know if you guys, need me to clarify a little bit, but that is the way I see it. You want to give Darvish the best possible chance to win, knowing that this might be the last start you get from Darvish in the regular season. That's the way I think of it. Let me see how much longer I'm gonna go. I'll probably go for like another few more minutes. On a positive note, Mania finally solved the Dodgers. Yeah, I hope he solved the Dodgers. I hope he solved the Dodgers because we're probably not going to see him again for the rest of the season. He's going to be coming out of the bullpen, and one of those might be against the Dodgers. So hopefully he's able to, figure it out, not just against the Dodgers, but in general. We didn't lose any ground. That's the bright side. Both the Phillies and the Brewers lost. Exactly. That's why, does losing to the Dodgers suck more than losing to any other team? Absolutely. But you got to look at it from a standpoint where you're not going for the Dodgers anymore. You're not facing the Dodgers for the division anymore. You're facing essentially yourself. You control your own destiny. So you really need to go out there and just win ball games in general, not really focus on today's game against the Dodgers, but focus on the easier games like the White Sox and the Giants. Losing Tatis really threw a wrench into y'all's playoff choices. He definitely would have made we probably would have clinched already with Tatis. I will say that 100%. We would have clinched already with Fernando. Tough shit. I mean, tough loss, obviously, but nonetheless, team's still playing some really good baseball. I feel like they've been playing a lot more team baseball, team-oriented baseball, inspired baseball lately. So, like I said, tough shit, but you got to move on. You got to move on, and that's exactly what this team's doing, and at the right time. Because I feel like for a little bit, it was kind of sad because of that whole losing Tatis thing. Our offense keeps leaving guys on base. Yeah, I remember at one point the Padres were going to be on pace to possibly break the record for runners left on base. So that's definitely been one of the issues for the Padres all season. Nonetheless, that won't matter come playoff time. And come playoff time, they know they need to cash in, and hopefully they're able to do that. Cry, LOL. How do the Padres go 4 for 22 with the runners in scoring position? I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like it's just a lot of, obviously, a lot of missed opportunities. Like I was saying earlier, missed opportunities cost you games against teams like the Dodgers. Teams like the Dodgers, you got to go ahead and play some of your best baseball, and the Padres weren't able to cash in on some pretty big opportunities. Does the magic number get us the 6th seed or the 5th seed? The magic number gets us the 5th seed. You can't blame Grisham. Yeah, a lot of the blame was on Trent Grisham yesterday. Sure, you can place a lot of the blame on Trent Grisham yesterday, but overall, as an offense, they didn't look very good yesterday. Dixon guy looked promising or no? Honestly, I didn't really get to tune in much to his at-bats, but you're probably not going to get to see him start a game again. Who's the AL MVP, Judge or Ohtani? We talked about it not that long ago. I don't really want to go too much into depth. I just kind of want to talk about the Padres because I'm only going to be on here for a few more minutes. But if you go based off F4, everyone's going to go with Aaron Judge, but I want to go with Shohei Ohtani. Do you want St. Louis, New York, or Atlanta in the wild card round? Ideally, I would want St. Louis. I feel very confident that we can beat St. Louis. I mean, getting to face Adam Wainwright and Jordan Montgomery makes it feel a lot better than facing, whether, Max Fried and Kyle Wright or Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer. But the magic number is 3, which means you would get essentially the 5th seed probably. And that means you got to face the Mets or the Braves. And earlier I said I would rather face the Mets than the Braves because there's too much people are taking too much into account that it's DeGrom and Scherzer. Where you look at it, DeGrom hasn't been too hot lately, and he's sort of like on an innings limit in some sort of way. Maybe they'll take it off in the playoffs, but he hasn't pitched. It's either he hasn't pitched past 6 or he hasn't pitched past 7, one of those. But just looking at it from a lineup standpoint, 1 through 9, the Braves could essentially end us in 1 inning, and I don't think the Mets can do that. I've been calling the Padres the Lobsters for the last 2 years. Well, 2020 was one of the years where the Padres were not one of those teams to leave guys on. They were cashing in all the time. Last year, it sort of didn't even feel like they were getting guys on. It just felt like they sucked for a really long time. This year, obviously on pace to break that record. So that name is warranted for sure. It's definitely one of the more, I'm very happy that, we're sort of in this situation where I'm able to come on here and talk about situations like this, because last year was I think I can speak for Matt and Chase. It was a very sad time to come on here and record and talk about the Padres, because there was essentially no hope. There was, at this point, it was really, let's go on to next year and hope for better. And for a really long time, it felt like there was just an ongoing pile of just shit piling up. You lose Fernando, you're not really making trades. And then now you see that the Padres are in a really, really good playoff spot, and really, really good spot and fighting for the playoffs. So I'm very happy that I'm finally able to come on here and talk about the Padres in a playoff sense rather than the Padres in a next year type of way. Pitching played better this year and offense played bad this year. Yeah, at the end of the day, pitching and defense is what's going to win you a lot of ball games. But if the offense is going to look the way it did tonight, you don't want them facing the Braves. This is what I'm saying. Alfaro should be pinch hitting every 9th inning. Yeah, if we're in a situation where we need a walk off, you definitely want Alfaro up there. Dodger supporter here. By the way, yesterday you should have walked Freeman in the 10th and pitched to Smith and Muncy. Yeah, completely agree, for sure. Why Dixon is hitting with 1 out and he's the time runner? Dude, I'm glad I'm not the only one. I feel like if you question Bob Melvin, you get kind of slandered a lot. But, and don't get me wrong, I'm one of those guys that's like, I don't want to question Bob Melvin. This is one of the best managers in all of baseball. But, letting Dixon keep hitting is definitely not warranted. I don't know why Dixon was still up there. Nonetheless, it doesn't really matter. We lost. Phillies lost. Brewers lost. Still in the same situation we came into. No, not even the same situation we came into today. Actually gained a game. Freeman is more dangerous with runners on. And, well, not only that, Freeman has been one of the best hitters and is possibly the best hitter in baseball right now. Or not even right now, but he's possibly the best hitter in baseball. So it's not a guy I want to face in general. Chin up, Darvish, Snell, and Joe can beat anybody in a 3-game series. That's how I feel too. That's why I'm not very scared to face the Mets. Because I do think, even though it's DeGrom and Scherzer, you think any team in baseball right now, with the way you Darvish and Blake Snell are pitching, you think anyone wants to face them too? I wouldn't. Let's go 2 more questions, and then I'm going to take off. 2 more questions or statements, whatever it is. Padres play White Sox and Giants. Easy to get 3 wins. Hopefully 4. Hopefully they get to that 90 win mark. But either way, doesn't really matter as long as you get in. I'd say best hitters are Judge, Freeman, Goldie, Manny in that order. That's valid, yeah. Obviously Judge with many home runs, and he's doing his thing this year. So I think that's a valid order as well. Bias aside, is Manny MVP? Hard to set bias aside for sure. I want to say Manny is the MVP. It's crazy because last week it was so easy to say Paul Goldschmidt is the MVP or Nolan Arenado's the MVP, preferably Paul Goldschmidt. It was super easy to say that last week. Now you're going into this week. Manny Machado has essentially the same WAR as both of them, but both of those guys play for the same team. They're both right back to back in the same order. It's like, Dude, you know how much help they get from each other? Who's doing what Manny's doing on the Padres right now? Nobody. It's just Manny. Manny's doing his own thing right now. So the NL MVP candidates get help from other NL MVP candidates. Manny's the only guy not getting help from another MVP candidate. I asked the great Lord above. There's 3 things I want on earth before he takes me: for the Padres to finally win a World Series, the Chargers to win the Bowl, and to see my son graduate. Same. I hope you're. I mean, the biggest priority one there is your son. So I hope you see that for sure, because the Padres and the Chargers, it gets gloomy at points. But yeah, I'm glad to hear that. The most baseball thing ever. Padres only beat the Dodgers. Dude, Juan. Exactly. It does not matter how many times they beat us right now. Like, yes, is it frustrating? Yeah, it is. But you guys know how many times this happens where teams just absolutely suck against another team, but they ended up beating them in the postseason? Like, that's baseball in a nutshell. So that is a really good comment, Juan, for sure. Last comment: Machado has been the MVP in the NL, but he won't win. Completely agree, man. Couldn't agree more. Nonetheless, happy to hop on in a situation where the Padres are fighting for a playoff spot. And it's not even just like one of those, they might get the 60. They in an actual year where there's no 6 team, they still quite possibly make the playoffs. So very happy to come on and talk about the Padres in a positive limelight, because a year ago the Padres were not in this situation. And I hope for anyone that's, sort of negative going into the playoffs, I hope you guys remember last year how it felt, because this year feels so much better going possibly into game 162, whatever it is, or going into the playoffs, going into this playoff race. Will it be crushing if they don't make it? Yes, but I have enough confidence for them to be able to do that. So, it's a very exciting time right now. Nonetheless, I don't know if we're recording. I don't know if Matt and Chase want to record or whatever it is, but we'll be very excited to talk to you here coming soon. And I don't know if you guys can hear that. I'm sorry if you guys can hear that, but it's probably going to be every night that we're going to go. We're going to have a post-game live stream during the playoffs. So, tune in every night if you want. Thank you guys for tuning in, though, and I'll talk to you guys later.